Hello friends, I am Dr. Manish Yadav. I welcome you in our YouTube channel Soma's Evolution Classes. In this video, I will explain introduction of suspension, merit and demerits, classification, ideal property of suspension, flocculated and deflocculated suspension, pharmaceutical application of suspensions, and stability and packaging aspect. Suspensions are biphasic dosage form is a coarse dispersion in which insoluble solid particles are dispersed in a liquid medium. The particles have diameter for the most part greater than 0.1 micrometer, is distributed in a particulate form throughout another continuous medium, that is dispersion medium. Based on the route of administration, suspension can be divided into oral suspension, externally applied suspension, and parenteral suspension. On the basis of solid particle present in the suspension, it may be colloidal dispersion and coarse suspension. Based on the electrokinetic nature of solid particles present in the suspension, it may be flocculated system and deflocculated suspension. Another classification based on the proportion of the solid particles present in the suspension, it may be divided into dilute suspension and concentrated suspension that have a more than 50% weight by volume of the solid. Advantages of suspensions. Suspension have a different advantages. Suspension can improve chemical stability of certain drugs like procaine penicillin G. Drug in suspension exhibit higher rate of bioavailability than other dosage form. Bioavailability is in higher for solution, then suspension, capsules, and then compressed tablet. Suspension control duration of action and onset of action. Example, protamine zinc insulin suspension. Taste masking, we have a good example like chloramphenicol palmitate. The biphasic system can be formulated to deliver drug through various routes of administration such as oral, topical, and intramuscular injection. Now come to the disadvantages and challenges of the biphasic system suspension. It is difficult to formulate biphasic system suspension, can be challenged to formulate and maintain stability due to the immiscibility issues. Additive and surfactant must be carefully selected to prevent phase separation or drug precipitations. The ingredient used in the biphasic system must be biocompatible and safe for the human use. This can limit the types of drug that can be delivered by biphasic system suspension. Uniform and accurate dose cannot be achieved unless suspensions are packed in a unit dosage form. Another stability issue, sedimentation and may create problem. It is bulky, therefore enough care must be taken during handling and transportation of the suspension. The ideal suspension or biphasic system must have some basic features that are, it must be therapeutically active, chemically and physically stable, and should have aesthetic appeal. The consistency should be uniform after shaking the suspension, should settle slowly and should be redispersible upon gentle container shaking. It should not have hard cake after settling during storage. Flocculated suspension and deflocculated suspension. Flocculated suspension. In flocculated system, the solid particles of dispersed phase aggregate leads to the network-like structure of solid particles in dispersion medium. The aggregate form no hard cake. These aggregates settle rapidly due to their size as rate of sedimentation is high and sediment formed is loose and easily redispersible. Properties of the flocculated suspension. The sediment is loosely packed. Particles are not bound tightly to each other. Sediment is easily dispersed by small amount of agitation. It exhibits plastic and pseudoplastic behavior also. The pressure distribution in this type of suspension is uniform at all places. In this type of suspension, the viscosity is nearly same at different depth level. The purpose of the uniform dose distribution is fulfilled by flocculated suspension. Deflocculated suspension. In this type of suspension, the solid particle exists as separate entity in the dispersion medium. The sediment form hard cake. The solid have particles settle slowly as rate of sedimentation is low. As sediments are formed eventually, there is a difficulty of redispersion. Properties of the deflocculated suspension. Property includes particle size is less, rate of settling is very slow in case of deflocculated suspension. The sediment after some time becomes very closely packed and non-dispersible cake is formed. The supernatant liquid is cloudy even though majority of the particles have been settled. There is no clear-cut boundary between the sediment and supernatant. Application of suspensions. An aqueous suspension is useful oral dosage form of administration insoluble or poorly water-soluble drugs. The large surface area of the dispersed phase ensure a high degree of bioavailability for absorption, unlike tablet and capsule. The dissolution of drug particle in suspension and subsequently in vivo absorption commences upon dilution in the gastrointestinal fluid. Finally, divided particles dissolve at higher rate and have higher relative solubility than similar nanoparticles and microparticles. In the cosmetic industry, there are huge application of suspension. Example, lotion containing insoluble solid particle to spread a thin coat of medicament on the skin like calamine lotion. Parenteral suspension are also applicable in order to control the rate of drug absorption. Example is penicillin procaine. Packaging and storage of suspension. During packing and storage, we have to take care of few things like it should be packed in wide mouth container, should have adequate air space above the liquid, should be stored in a tight container, protected from freezing, excessive heat and light. It should be stored in room temperature. If it is dry powder, then 25 degrees centigrade, temperature fluctuation should not be there. Future perspective of biphasic system or suspension. Researchers are exploring new way to use biphasic system suspension for more precise drug delivery and improve patient outcome. Biphasic system suspensions are eliminate the need of the plastic packing by providing stable liquid dosage form that can be delivered via eco-friendly packaging and methods. Biphasic system suspensions are ideal for use in digital medicine where smartphone app can assist with precise dosing and monitoring of the drug delivery. Biphasic suspensions offer a unique and flexible approach to drug delivery with many potential advantages and application. However, they also present challenges related to stability, dosing and biocompatibility. Ongoing researchers offer promising for improving biphasic system suspension and expanding their usage. In this module of suspension dosage form, we have discussed introduction of suspension, merit and demerit, classification and ideal property of suspension. We have also discussed flocculated and deflocculated suspension, different aspects of suspending agent, stability, packing and storage of biphasic system. That was all a brief discussion about the biphasic system suspension. If you enjoyed this video, please do like and subscribe our channel Soma's Evolution Classes, and for more interesting video, stay tuned with our channel. Thank you.